Hello, everyone. So, my journey with feminism. So, we like to make life easier for ourselves, don't we? That's why we've made convenient cars and convenient houses, and that's why sometimes we ignore the pain of other people's lives in order to just get on with our own. We like to make life easier. One of the ways in which we do this is by giving into the notion that we all think the same way, and we're right, and that's the end of it, right? It's just simpler that way. And I don't think it's just an ignorant high schooler thing to do, or at least I hope it isn't. The trouble is, that's a terribly sheltered way of going about our lives, isn't it? To blindly act as if we all think and live in the same way. Because the people who are different than us will often be the ones to challenge us to remain strong in our convictions or become more open-minded to others. Imagine just how much we miss out on if we ignore diversity of thought and mind. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about how I discovered that in fact not everyone thinks the same way as I do, and sometimes they can even be bigoted and hurtful. I was used to living in my own world, where I didn't need to declare I was a feminist, since it was sort of a given that the people around me believed in the social, political, and economical equality of genders. Surprise! That's what feminism actually means. Not the battle in between genders or raising one above the others, really just the equality of them. I'm also going to talk to you guys about how I was woken up from my environment of uniform thought. Now, this awakening wasn't so much a smooth transition in between a comfortable sleep and a smooth morning. No. It was more of a slap you in the face, bucket of ice cold water kind of way. But I suppose I should have been prepared for this. This was high school after all, not for the weak of heart. So I'm also going to talk to you guys about how I chose to deal with the discovery that some people in my school were sexist, and heterosexist at that. So I suppose we should start from the beginning. At this point, we set the scene in Jesuit high school. This day, I was sitting in health class, probably a bit sleepy, sorry Mrs. Kemp, and wriggling in those uncomfortable chairs, which are probably made that way so you don't fall asleep, quite frankly. And all of a sudden, gender equality came up. And you can be sure that I was firing at 100 and completely awake when it was my talk. So my classmates and I had been talking about LGBTQA issues, rights for men and women, and all the other feminist stuff, which, by the way, wasn't used as a compliment in the context of this conversation turned debate. Some of the naysayers had begun to grumble. Men almost always have the harder jobs, so they should be paid proportionately. Or gays shouldn't be allowed to advertise in parades. Some of us rose in defense of equality and a broader worldview, but we were met with jeers and derision. So I came away from this skirmish with a new nickname, because I was one of those people who raised in defense of equality and a broader worldview. And I was called a mega feminist. I thought this was a pretty good nickname for with a 3-letter name. I'd never had one before. But I don't think I was meant to find this a positive thing. So the straw that broke the camel's back, however, really did come when a few weeks later. So my friend and I had come to school with pixie cuts, or boy haircuts. Now, of course, this immediately meant that we were gay and in a relationship. What an interesting way to connect the dots, isn't it? I thought we looked quite cute, quite frankly. But you know, everyone has a different opinion. So we definitely, like, after this conversation and after having our first flame of activism lit that day in health class, which for me has shone bright ever since, sometimes a bit too bright, just ask my parents about the heated rants at the dinner table, we thought we had to do something. So after that day in class, we decided that we had to create a club. And being called lesbians after coming to school with these haircuts really reinforced that notion. We really understood that these opinions about gender and sexuality weren't fair, but we didn't quite have the rationale or other smart people's opinions to back us up. So after getting our mentor and English teacher on board to proctor our club and turning in all the necessary forms and getting it into the announcements, we were off to the races. So the first couple meetings saw Phoebe and me expressing our rudimentary understanding of feminism to a handful of sympathetic friends. But thank goodness, as our confidence grew, our club attendances. These days, the principal even attends our meetings, as we offer where people can really discuss ideas about how to improve school, community, and life. These days, meetings are now weekly, and we sometimes have up to 50 people in attendance. Our focus has widened to include women in the media, feminism from a race-specific perspective, the transgender experience, the history of feminism, and the list goes on and on. In the future, we also hope to host discussions with the English and History department away from a white male-dominated presentation of these subjects. So, this all sounds quite eloquent as I present this club to you now, but trust me, we really weren't always so eloquent. Before we created this club, I'm not even sure I quite knew what feminism meant. My whole life I'd been fed the classic, loud, bra-burning, window shop crashing image of a feminist. And I think that's quite a common thing, right? And I didn't think identifying that image would be very practical within a high school setting. Don't get me wrong, this extreme type of feminism may have been needed within an extreme time of misogyny, but I needed to become my own feminist. I would be attuned to today's issues that pertain not only to me, but also to other minorities. I would strive to work with and not so much against the other genders in order to reach a more equal society. So, after our creation of the club, on the second year of our club, we gained a very important member that would eventually become our co-leader. Now, he's actually sitting right there. He really would offer the other side of the debate, the male side, which Phoebe and I, we could have tried all we wanted, but I don't think we can offer that perspective as valuable as Ansem presented it. So it's all fine and dandy having a gender equality club, but it's not going to be as effective if you only host one side of the debate. Now, as the senior leaders look on to college and graduation, I'm so glad to know that we have 2 juniors who will continue this amazing work within Jesuit next year and who will become the leaders. They have really helped our journey over this year in terms of bringing in the juniors into the conversation, and they've been very valuable. So this club has really impacted me in my life through the hours of research in preparation for club meetings, through going to conferences, talking to my teachers, learning from the people who came to our clubs as well. But I think on some level it's also impacted the community around me. So on an institutional level, for example, after discussions we held in the club, our principal felt it necessary to change the prom policy. Now let me explain to you a bit about the social dynamics of prom. So it used to be that sophomores could only go to prom if they were asked by upperclassmen. The only problem with is that once they were asked to prom, there was sort of this unsaid expectation that they would fulfill some things that they weren't very comfortable with. And we didn't feel this was a very good representation of gender equality. So after this discussion, our principal changed the policy so that prom would be only for upperclassmen. I may get some boos from some disappointed sophomores, but let me tell you, as a sophomore who was asked to prom herself, it's not all fun and games. But on a more personal level, I'm really glad to say that we have been able to influence interactions amongst our peers. So let me tell you a final story. So I was walking down the hallway one day, sleep-deprived students bumping into me, the thoughts preoccupying me, when my friend Joanne came running up to me. She said, Mia, I'm so glad I found you. I have to tell you what's happened. More sleepwalkers bumped and stumbled, but she had hardly noticed. She was so excited. Her story tumbled out in a torrent. A friend of hers had called someone a slut. Slut, that short, sharp, rub you in the dirt kind of insult. Right? And she had, at our last meeting at the Gender Equality Club had been about the effects of slut-shaming on expressions of female sexuality. And it was on account of this discussion and the principles that emerged from it that she felt the courage, when she needed it, to confront her friend and to condemn her hurtful behavior. And she was so excited. She was, telling me the story, and perhaps amidst her excitement, she hadn't noticed that in me, this story had come as a complete surprise. Me, inspirational, inspiring, I could never have imagined that. Although I felt a passionate commitment to our club, I could never have imagined that it would influence interactions amongst my peers. Today, if to define myself, the traditional answer may be student at Jesuit high school or teenager in Portland. But now I begin to realize that I have a different, evolving identity. I'm someone who has convictions and who can speak with authority. I'm someone who can catalyze change within my world. At 14 and a sophomore, I felt myself eloquent and would never have dreamed of identifying with being a feminist for fear of certain social consequences. But 3 years and a few risks later, I feel that I can be a leader sometimes within my class and catalyze change in the world. Just this afternoon, actually, my brother, after I had finished practicing my speech in front of him, he asked me, so what can I do about it? Right? You've just told me all this, whatever, feminism, gender equality. Yeah, that's cool. But what do I do about it? And after today, after all these wonderful TED Talks, I really do hope that some of you will come away asking yourselves that very same question. What can you do about it? And that answer to that question is different for everyone within the context of their own lives. But I think that just asking it is really important. And how empowering and how satisfying to make a difference within the lives of people you care about, and then realize that the difference you've made in your own is every bit as important and profound. Thank you very much to everyone who's embarked on this journey with me, and a special thank you to Phoebe Moll, who started it with me. Thank you.